Hi, second graders. It's me, Mrs. Perrin. I'm here at the Atkinson Kimball Library with Miss Kathy, and she is helping us with our second grade project, learning about the history of some of the important buildings here in our town. Thank you so much for reading with me.
You're welcome.
So I have 4 questions to ask all of you.
Okay.
The first one is, who works here?
Okay, so there are actually 13 of us who work here. As you pointed out, I'm either go by Miss Kathy or Mrs. Watson. It depends on how you know me. And I just want to tell you that the people that work here, it's a little bit like the school. Like, for example, you have a teacher, you have a principal, you have paraprofessionals, you have custodians. So today you're going to meet everyone who works in youth services. There's 3 of us, but there is kind of like the principal, Karen Brown, she's the director, and then there are other people who have different titles who work here. But because this is a second grade project and we're used to you being able to visit us in person, which is a little sad you can't this year, but we're happy to do this video. And so there's 13 of us, and some of them are even high school students or pages. So I'm going to ask Carolyn to come in to answer your next question.
Okay. So, would you like to give the history of the building?
Well, I will try. And we start with the Reverend Kimball, and he was born in the late 1800s, and then around and of course went off to school and was highly educated for his time. And in early 1900s, he came back and bought a piece of property that he really enjoyed, and he decided that he was going to donate it to Atkinson. And so what he did was bought the building that we know now as the Historical Society, or the Kimball House. And that is where the library was. He filled it, he decided to put books in it, and a few of the rooms were used at that time just for the library. And of course he lived in the other parts of the house. And then later on, in the 1970s, of course, time goes on and the library gets bigger and people are enjoying it more. And I shouldn't say he, but they decided that they would build an extension onto that Kimball Library, and it looked like a house. And then they moved everything over to that house section, and that became the library that we knew until this building came. And this building was in 2008. So we've been here for 13 years, or close to it, and have enjoyed every single bit of it. The building, the original one, parts of the time it didn't really have central heating or plumbing, and so he did that, or as time went on anyway. And then what we did was extended and changed that house that we knew as the Kimball Library, and put the children's room in the basement. And so that was a wonderful thing, instead of having just one little room in the old building that we used. So it was exciting. And now it's just a wonderful place here with our own separate library, and we love it.
Thank you.
Some things have happened, though, I would like to tell you.
Okay.
We did have a few visitors in our building that is now demolished, the Kimball Library. We had some skunks come in, and we had some ferrets, and we had mice. All of these animals, enjoyed the books just as much as we did. So that's the story of the house. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Want to tell us just more about the purpose?
Of course. My name is Miss Danielle. I'm a youth librarian here at Kimball. And the whole point of the Kimball Library is to have books, of course, just like your library at school. But our library has even more books for kiddos, books for grown-ups, of course. course, and movies and audiobooks to listen to, things to check out like ukuleles and telescopes. But what's even cooler than the stuff that we have to check out is that the library is for everybody, not just kiddos, not just old folks, but all kinds of people, no matter where they come from, who they are, or what they're looking for. They live in Atkinson and they can come here to the Kimball Library and find whatever it is they're looking for.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, all of you, for helping us out with this project.
You got it. Miss Kathy has one more point to make, I think.
So as Miss Danielle said, the reason we have, one of the questions it was like, why is the building here? Well, the reason we have public libraries in general is there's different kind of libraries, like there's academic libraries like at UNH, but the public library, the point is, it's for everyone. So you can be a really, really rich person, you could be a really, really poor person. You could have a person, you could have dark skin, you could have white skin, anyone, because it's public. We have all kinds of things. And if this library wasn't here in Atkinson, what would Atkinson be like? Well, you wouldn't be able to get all these free things like the books, the movies, the audiobooks, free streaming, kid cameras, ukuleles, croquet set, bocce ball, backpacks filled with stuff, night vision binoculars, telescope. We have all kinds of cool things to loan. We have access to free resources and information like trail maps for the conservation trails, and we're also a passport acceptance facility. We give book recommendations. It's not just like, oh, you can look online and look for a book you want, but you can come in here and Miss Danielle, Mrs. Burr, myself, we can talk to you about the books that we know and that we love and that other kids know and love, and you'll get personal recommendations, which you would not get if the library wasn't here. Access to gather, like meeting rooms, the Girl Scouts, political committees and all of that, they rent our rooms. We have summer reading programs, we have presenters in the courtyard, we have concerts, we have staycation events. I don't even know if you knew that April Vacation Week, we have programs going here every single day, like book bingo and making music fun and Writers Club and art club and listening fairy and Pokemon scavenger hunts and all that stuff. And you might be like, wow, how do I know how to find all this cool stuff out? Well, we have a website, we have everything on social media, and you might be like, well, I'm 8, my mother doesn't let me be on Instagram. Well, guess what? You can come to the library in person. You might think rules for the library, oh, you have to be quiet and all that stuff. We have 2 big rules right now because of the pandemic. 1, in the library, wear a mask, and 2, don't get in other people's faces, just like at school. That's pretty much it, the rules. Except, how to be in a building, which you're already used to that from school. So there's nothing new to find out about that. And library cards are free. You can have one of your very own. You don't have to be 8. You don't have to be 4. You can be 2 months old and you can get a library card. Just need to come in with your parent that has something that shows that they live in Atkinson, like a driver's license or something like that. And if you live there with them, you get your very own library card for free.
Sounds wonderful. All right, friends, I hope you learned a lot about the library. See you later. Hello, second graders. It's me, Mrs. Perrin again. I'm here at the Atkinson Town Hall with Mrs. Hale, who will be telling us more about this important building. So, hello. Could you please tell us about the town hall? Why is this building here?
So this building is here for our way to have a little bit of safety and order in the town. It's a place where people bring their fees and money to pay for things like their roads, their car licenses, their car registrations. It's a place where people have meetings. So it's a community building. It's a public building, which means actually your parents help pay for this building with their taxes. We have different offices in the building, and it's a great place for work to be done on different committees or different people in the town who make sure, like I said, that there's, the trash is picked up, there's parks to play in, that there's laws that are followed, that people can build houses where they want to build houses or not if it doesn't fit, or they can pay their taxes here. So we have a lot of different services in the town, and this is kind of like the heart of the town. So everything kind of works out of here.
Okay, could you tell us who works here? Maybe we could look at the different offices.
Sure. So in this building on the right, we have what's called administration, building planning and zoning. So we have a town administrator, his assistant town administrator, and we have a building and planning department. So there are 3 employees that work in there, and they do all different things that help make the town go smoothly, ideally. And then we have my office over here. This is the town clerk office. And we've got a deputy town clerk in there working now, and usually I have an assistant as well. And this is where people come to pay, they do their dog licensing here too. So they register their dogs and their cars, and they also get marriage licenses in here, which is pretty cool. So when you guys are ready to get married, you might come and visit me. Then over here, we have the tax collector's office. And the tax collector, that's where if you own any land or houses here in Atkinson, like maybe your parents might, they would actually pay a bill twice a year to this office. And that money is what helps us make sure that, again, your trash is picked up, that we have some beautiful parks, and we have all different things like fire department and the police department and many other different departments that help make the town run. So the tax collector brings in a lot of money as well. I do too, and she does too. And then we also have in the back, we have an office for our inspectors. The inspectors are the people who actually, when you want to build a house in Atkinson, they're the ones that have to go. People come and they apply for a actual permit, like a record, to say I want to build a basement. And then they have to have like someone to look at if the electricity is going to work right, if the foundation is built right, if there's any issues with, are they making too much noise? We have someone who deals with all different things that we try to keep the town safe. So that's the inspector's office. That's where they work. And then there's a bookkeeper in the back. You can't see her today because she's already gone as well. But she does all the things behind the scenes to make sure the employees get paid and the bills get paid to run our town, like the fire department and this building and the other buildings. We also have our technology guy, Dave Williams. He works in the back. There's a meeting going on right now, which is pretty common because this is a public building for meetings. So right now, Dave Williams is in the back probably getting ready and helping to record a meeting. So that's all happening right now. He is in charge of our TV channel, which is awesome. If you go to Channel 20, you can tell your parents, I want to see Atkinson's Channel 20. That's what Dave does. We also have, I think that's pretty much the majority of people in this building, but of course, we have our fire department and our police department and our library, and I think you guys are going to learn all about that with this wonderful virtual tour.
And could you answer one last question?
Sure.
How has this building changed over time?
So my understanding is this building was built in 1987 when the town hall before this was in what they called the Grange Hall. And I'm not familiar with it because I didn't live here then. But this building has pretty much changed because we've gotten more technology, like you can imagine, more TVs and cameras, and made the rooms big enough to have meetings with TVs and cameras. We also moved some offices around because of the way we were growing. So like that room those people used to be in that room. So if anything, I'd say even now, we're trying to figure out how we can use the building in a different way because, we're running out of file space and we're growing as a town. So I would say the things that changed is that it's just continued to kind of just subtly, little things change here and there. But it's, we've got an old, some old stained glass windows from the last town hall, which was the Grange. As you can see, it mentions that those were donated. Those used to be the windows in the old town hall before this was built. So I think does that answer that?
Yes, thank you. And thank you so much for meeting to tell our second graders all about this building.
Absolutely. I'm sorry I can't see you guys in person, but hopefully next year the next class will come in, but we're happy to have you visit with your family whenever you want. Come say hi to the town clerk's office anytime. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, second graders. Mrs. Michaud here at the Atkinson Fire Department. So we're continuing our work with finding out about the important buildings in our town, and we are here at the fire department with Lieutenant Murphy, who's going to help us find out a little bit more about the fire station. So
Hey, kids.
Thank you, Mr. Lieutenant Murphy. I'm sorry. First, we want to know, as second graders, we want to know, why is this building here?
The Atkinson Fire Station has a couple different reasons to be here. Number one, if you look around, you'll see we're standing in front of a fire truck. All of the town's fire trucks are here. It keeps them safe, it keeps them protected, and it keeps them ready for when we have an emergency in town, that we can respond quickly and help people. The other thing that the fire station does is it's a meeting place in town. So if there's ever a really big emergency, a bad weather storm, or something where the town needs to gather, this building can be used to gather a lot of people, to give them a lot of information and keep everybody safe and informed.
All right, well, that's great. So I know that when we come here to visit, the second graders always want to know who works here. How many firefighters are there?
So the Atkinson Fire Department consists of about 30 firefighters. Most of us are what's called a call firefighter, which means we have another job, and we do this as secondary to help our community. And during the day, we also have 2 full-time firefighters that are here between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Okay, so I know that one of the things that we're curious about is how this building has changed over time. And not only the building, but also I know in the past we've heard about how firefighters responding has changed over time, how it started and what they used to do and what you're able to do now when you know there's a fire.
Absolutely. So this is actually a new building in town. Probably not to you kids, but new to me. When I first became a firefighter, we were in a different building. This building was built in the year 2000. And before that, we were actually in a building that used to be right on the library's parking lot. And that building was built in 1945, and it was originally just 2 garage doors and 2 fire trucks only. Now we have 9 doors and 10 different fire apparatus up here. Over the years, we've gone from very small fire trucks with not a lot of equipment to a lot of technology. We now have breathing apparatus that lets us go into burning buildings safely. A lot has changed, but mostly it's the technology.
Okay, and I know that a lot of the firefighters here, if there's a fire and you need to call in firefighters that are not here, how do you get a hold of them now?
So if you call 911, it's going to go to our dispatch center, which sets out a tone, which goes to these fire pages that we all carry. And when this goes off, we know that there's an emergency, and we respond to the fire station to get the fire trucks and come and help people.
Okay, now years ago, before we had this type of equipment, how did they let firefighters know if there was a fire and they needed them?
A long time ago, before we could use the fire pages, we have a giant siren on top of the fire station that used to sound, and you could hear it throughout all of Atkinson. And anybody that was a firefighter knew when they heard that siren, they had to come to the firehouse because there was an emergency in town.
So I think it's probably been an amazing difference having to wait for people to hear the siren and get here to now being able to page firefighters.
Absolutely. We try and have a fire truck on the road in 4 minutes from when an emergency is called.
That's amazing. All right, another thing that we would really like to know is, what do you think it would be like if Atkinson didn't have this building, if this building wasn't here?
Without a fire station, we probably wouldn't have a fire department, and we would not be able to help our residents and our friends and our family, and we would have to rely on other towns to come and help us, and that would take a lot longer for firefighters to come in an emergency. So it's a very important building to town for the safety of the residents.
That's great to know. So I think that, you know, one of the things that the boys and girls have always found out when we come here to visit is not only how important it is to have the fire station, but to have all the people that work here. And there are a lot of firefighters that are volunteers, am I correct in that?
We out of the 30 firefighters, give or take, 28 of them have another job, and they do this just to help their community.
And I think that is a huge part of what makes the Atkinson Fire Department so important to the town, is because so many of those people are giving their time to help their town, and also are working other jobs as well.
Absolutely.
All right, so second graders, obviously the Atkinson Fire Department is one of our very important buildings in town, and we've learned a lot from Lieutenant Murphy today, and I hope you were listening. Thank you.
Hi boys and girls, I'm Mrs. Kaner from Atkinson Academy, a second grade teacher, and I am here in the Atkinson Historical Society with Mrs. Dillon, who is going to answer a few questions for you, giving you some information about this incredible building that I hope you come to visit, and Mrs. Dillon can let you know when you can come visit sometime. So, thank you for being here, Mrs. Dillon. And the first question that we all want to know is, why is this building here?
Well, originally the building was the home of the first minister that we had in Atkinson. In fact, he had to build the house so he'd have some place to live. And he built it in 1772, which is more than 200 years ago, working towards 300, if you can imagine. And he had to build it himself. And I wish you were here and we could go down cellar and see the foundation. There are gigantic boulders down there that they used as foundation for the house. And every time I go down there, I look and I say, how did those boulders ever get down here? But they did. And that's why the house is still here 200 odd years. Now, after when Reverend Kimball, not Kimball this time, Peabody, after he passed away, then the house was lived in by many other people. And then at one point, about 1909, 1907, 1909, there was a man, and he lived in Plastow. He too was a reverend. And at that point, this building was not being used for anything. And Mr. Kimball bought it, and he gave it to the town, and there were 3 conditions. It could be used as a library, a museum, or the land out in the back possibly used as a cemetery. Well, we are the museum, and at one time this was the town's library. The librarian's name was Mrs. Reynolds, and she and her family lived here. She had 2 children, and she and her husband, the 2 children, lived here. This room where we're sitting was the main library room. That's why you can see the shelves the way they are, with books also. And behind me is a mural. This was the section, was the children's library. And I've always loved to see it. We thought of painting it over and then said, no, let's just leave it. And so while the Reynolds, Mr. and Mrs. Reynolds and the family were here, they served as the caretakers of the building. The town owned it, but they served as librarians and the caretakers. And that went on until 1975, when the town built the first new library, which is down there. And then Mrs. Reynolds thought she was too old to be a librarian again. And so they moved out. And the building was empty for a while. I personally don't know how long, but in I think it was 1981 maybe, the Historical Society was invited to come in and use the building as a museum. And here we are, where we've been
So this is a museum for people to come and see.
It is a museum, and sometimes when the kids are here, someone invariably asks, why do we need a museum? Well, just like every other town needs a museum, we need to have a place where we can store items and stories and pictures and other things that were used by our town and the people in our town to show how they lived in many, many years ago. Otherwise, we wouldn't know anything at all about what our town and the people in it were like. And so other towns have museums too, but I think ours is really quite nice.
And it's a really important building for us to have in
I
town.
consider, I may be a little, I don't know what the word would be.
Bias.
I am very proud of it, and I like working here. I feel good when I work here.
Well, who else works here? You work here, Mrs. Dillon works here. And who else works here?
We take turns, but on Wednesdays, we usually have a crew that consists of John Rogers, Ellen Beckwith, Gwen Gordon-Heiss, myself. Now, Sally Dowd just came in, and Mrs. Dowd is the one that makes all those wonderful scarecrow faces that we sell in the fall. So she just brought me over 18 more scarecrows to sew. So different people that do different things come at different times, but that core group are the ones that are sitting right here now.
And what's one of their jobs? What do they do here when they come?
Different things. And one thing that Gwen has been doing, and she's been doing it for years, we have a huge collection of old scrapbooks. And they're so old, you pick them up and they fall apart. And so she's been putting them all back together in new covering and labeling them. And Ellen does a lot of research on different things that have come up or things we don't know anything about. Sometimes people write to us or call asking, can you find my grandfather, anything about my grandfather, and are they buried in Atkinson? And we have the resources to find that information out.
Great.
Sometimes we just talk.
That's important too. So, can you give us a couple of examples of how things have changed in Atkinson over time?
I can. Well, I can only give you that information. I came here in 1989, which is not all that long ago. But when I came, the police station was in the old center school or family mediation room, and the firehouse was down there where the library is, and that was taken down when they started building libraries in that area. These schools, I'm trying to think what was the schools were. Well, at the academy, the Dyke Auditorium was there, but the big new addition was not there. I'm trying to think. A lot of things have not changed.
Right.
Because there has been a lot of building, but you can't see it from Main Street.
Right. And this like you said, this building used to be the library.
Yeah, this was the library until we got the first, I call it the new old library because it was built in 1975 and stayed there until about 10 years ago. It became too small for the town.
Right.
The town outgrew the library.
And we'll see some pictures of some toys and different things that have changed over time too.
Yeah.
But if this building weren't here, what would Atkinson be like?
Well, Atkinson would go on,
Right.
but it's an asset that we have that I think ties in with the school system, because I think it's very valuable for children to learn about their town and to see how the people that were there before them, how they lived too. We have huge museums in Boston and the Salem Peabody Museum that we all go to, but to have your own dedicated museum that you can walk to from your school,
Right.
I think is a real plus.
And if it wasn't here, we wouldn't know all this great
You wouldn't.
history of
You wouldn't.
Atkinson.
The one thing I find interesting is that people saved things. Now, some of us inclined to, I put myself in that group, I'll throw it away. But people saved so many things. We have clothing upstairs, these boxes and boxes of clothing. The beautiful, beautiful old clothing garments. We thought at one time we'd be able to have a fashion show, but a lot of it's very fragile.
Right.
But these people saved things, and then when they got ready to move maybe to a condo or wherever, what were they going to do with it?
Right.
Well, we'll take anything. We always take it. Maybe we won't use it or we'll pass it on. But if someone says, do you think that you'd want to have this? Absolutely. Put it in my hands. And so
And if
that's
people
why we are.
and if people do want to come and visit the museum, they can call for an
Oh,
appointment.
yeah, they can call.
And then they can
Yeah,
set up a time to
yeah.
come visit.
I wish that the children could come again.
Yes.
If you could figure out a way to.
Sometime we'll do that. We'll do
Yeah.
that in the
Things are getting
future.
more outward bound, I would
Yes.
say, that maybe we could think of doing that again.
Well, thank you so much, Mrs. Dillon. It was really good to talk with you today, and I think we got all of our questions answered.
Oh, well, I'm very glad that
Thank
you did.
you.
I'm thrilled that you were interested and wanted to come see us again. So.
Thank you. Hi, second graders. I'm Mrs. Kaner from Atkinson Academy, and I'm here at the Atkinson Police Station with the Atkinson Police Chief, Chief Crowley. I'm going to ask him a few questions about this building so we can get to know a little bit about the history and why this building is here. So
Sure.
Thank you, Chief
Oh,
Crowley.
no problem. Anytime.
So why is the police building here?
Well, this is where the police department works out of. We have 16 officers that work out of this building, 8 are full-time, 8 are part-time. We have a dispatcher that's here during the day, Monday through Friday. All our equipment is here, our computers are here. People come in here during the day when they need a report or they need some help with something, or they have questions or firearms licensing, things like that. And then if we need to take somebody into custody out on the street, they come in here. We have a booking room and they're booked here and then sent to court from here.
Great.
So
And you said that you have 8 full-time people here and 8 part-time. So what are some of their roles?
most of them, actually including myself, it's patrol. So you're out on the street. We do a lot of traffic enforcement. We check buildings to make sure they're secure. I'll show you when we move around a little bit, we just put an emergency call box at Woodlock Park that will help in case there's any emergencies there. It also has a video camera that I'll show you one of the pictures from today. But the officers are out there trying to keep the streets safe and be out there if somebody needs anything, and be available to the people of the town.
Great, thank you. So we're in the building of the police station, but how has this building changed over time?
Well, 50 years ago, you'd be teaching here because this was the Rockwell School.
Yeah.
So the building originally was a school, and then it was converted for the police department to use, along with elder services worked out of here. And they've since moved on to the community center. And if you just look around this room, you can see the ceilings were added. This obviously used to be a different type of office. There were classrooms in here, and so this originally was the Rockwell School.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
And if the police station wasn't here, the police department wasn't here, what would the town of Atkinson be like?
Well, it would be much different because you wouldn't have the access to the public safety that you do now. You wouldn't have these officers out there driving around your neighborhoods trying to keep things safe. And we get to the school and we visit the school and we teach them some lessons up there. And but yeah, I mean, every community needs a public safety division, and the police department does their part, as does the fire department and emergency medical services. So it would be a less safe place to live if it wasn't for the police department.
Well, we are very grateful to you and
Thank you.
grateful for this time with you today. So thank you very
no
much.
problem. Anytime. We missed our visit in the fall.
I know. Hopefully we'll be back soon.
All right, awesome. That's good.
Hello, second graders. We are continuing our work with finding out about the important places in Atkinson and our community, and today we're going to talk about Atkinson Academy. So we are here at Atkinson Academy today with our principal, Mrs. Liff, and she's going to help us learn a little bit more information. Some of it you may already know and some of it might be new. So, good morning, Mrs. Liff.
Good morning. How are you?
We are great. So, our second graders are learning about our community and about our important places in Atkinson, and we have some questions that we would like to ask you to find out a little bit more information about Atkinson Academy.
Well, I'm happy to try to answer them.
All right, so our first question is, why is this building here?
Well, this building is here to school the children. All the children need to attend school, and that's why this building is here. And this building has been here for a long time.
It has. So do you know how long this building has been here, Mrs. Liff?
Oh, well, I'm not that great at adding in my head that quickly, but it's been here since 1803.
Okay.
So I'd like to see if the students can figure out how many years this school building right behind us has been here.
All right, so 1803. We'll have to do some math there, second graders.
Over 200 years. There's a hint.
Okay, we'll figure that one out. All right, and can you tell us who works here?
Who works here? Well, there's a lot of teachers that work here. There's about 65 staff members that work here. And people who work all over the school district come here to help our teachers work and to work with kids.
All right, and besides our teachers, we also have custodians who take care of our school.
We have custodians, and we have great people who make lunch for us in the cafeteria and breakfast. And we have people who work in the library and people who work in each classroom.
Right, so there's a lot of different kinds of workers in our school.
There's a lot of different kinds of jobs that happen at a school.
All right, and how has this building changed over time?
Well, this building has changed a lot over time. So this building was built in 1803, like I said.
Okay.
And it used to house 4 classrooms. And over time, as the building has grown, and maybe Mr. Zanello can get like a little bit of a shot of some of the other buildings. And boys and girls, you know, when you walk down to the front parking lot, there's a whole other view of Atkinson Academy. So as the town has grown, the building has also grown. So we can house and teach all the children of the community.
Okay, so when in 1803, when they first built Atkinson Academy, was the part of the building where our second grade classrooms are, was that here?
No.
No, so that's a whole new part of the building.
This building was here. And if you were to go inside the building, there would only be 4 spaces for children to learn inside that building.
Okay, so only this part of the building, this white building right here, was the first building that was built, and then as the community grew, when there were more children that needed to go to school, they built the other part.
That's exactly right.
Okay, and what do you think it would be like if Atkinson didn't have this building?
Well, if Atkinson didn't have this building, that's a very interesting question. Children certainly wouldn't be able to go to school in the town that they live in.
Right, so they would have to go to other towns.
They would have to go to another town like Plastow or Hampstead or Danville.
Okay.
They'd have to go somewhere else to go to school. That means everyone would have to take a longer bus ride to get here, or your moms and dads or grandparents who drive you would have to drive a further distance to drop you off.
All right. And is there anything that you feel you want to tell us that maybe is your favorite part of Atkinson Academy, or something that you really love about our school?
Well, I have to say, boys and girls, we have the best students and the very best staff at Atkinson Academy. And I love coming to work every day to see all of you and to work with all the teachers and all the other staff here. But there is one thing I wanted to tell you.
Oh, tell us, please.
So I did a little bit of research into Atkinson Academy, and I wrote it down because I was afraid I wouldn't remember it. But do you know that there was another school on this site before this building was built? And it was built in 1787, which is even older than 1803. And only boys were allowed to come to the school. So back then in the 1700s, the girls didn't come to the same school that the boys came to.
Wow.
And so in 1791, they started to allow girls to come to school with the boys. And that means the Atkinson Academy is the oldest co-educational school in the nation.
Wow.
That's
that
the
is a
whole
really
country of
important
the
fact.
United States.
So this is the first school where boys and girls could go to school together.
That's right. Because way back when our country was first settled, girls went to a separate school than boys went to, if girls were lucky enough to go to school.
Right.
Because sometimes girls just stayed home to learn how to run a house. So they weren't allowed to go to school. And when boys went to school, they often didn't go to school past 8th grade. So this was a really important idea in a very new country, that we allowed boys and girls to go to school together to learn.
Well, that is a really interesting fact and a great little tip for us to learn about Atkinson Academy that many people probably didn't know before.
They might not have.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Lift. This was
You're
great.
welcome. Thank you for asking me. Boys and girls, happy learning.
All right, second graders, good job. Hello, second graders, Mrs. Michaud, and I'm here at the Atkinson Village store, and we're continuing to talk about all of the important places here in the town of Atkinson, and this is one of your important buildings that we're learning about. So we're here with Mr. Patel, who is the owner of the village store, and we're just going to ask him some questions to help us learn a little bit more about the store. All right, so Mr. Patel, second graders are wondering, why is this building here?
So the reason is here, it's convenience for people,
Yeah.
and they can run in and get the stuff that they forgot at the big grocery stores,
Okay.
and
Snacks. Kids love snacks.
Yes, that's another thing. Snacks. Plus, people come in the morning for coffee, lunch during the lunchtime,
Okay.
and just convenience for people.
All right. I know that I sometimes after school will stop because I forget something that maybe I need at home to
There
make
you
dinner.
go. So,
All right.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so who works here? Who helps you?
so besides me, we have 4 more people who works here.
Okay.
The people name is one's Meet Patel, who works in the morning. He comes in at 6 till 8 a.m.
Okay.
He opens the store, makes the breakfast sandwich, coffee, and then another person who switch every other day. The guy name is Hiram Patel,
Okay.
and other person is Mitul Patel. He takes over,
Okay.
and he works until 1.
Okay.
And we have an employee named Helen. She also will help us out during lunchtime,
All right.
and she works until 2 or 2:30,
All right.
and then I come over stay until close.
All right. So I'm noticing that besides Helen, all of those people had the same last name as you.
Correct.
So is it your family that helps to run the store?
It's sort of.
A lot of family?
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
All right, good to know. All right, so Mr. Patel, the last thing we're wondering is, what would Atkinson be like if this building wasn't here?
So if the building wasn't here, people would have to travel to a bigger store or the
Okay.
other town to get the daily needs,
Okay.
and it would be inconvenience because it would be wasting time to travel to another town.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I bet that you get to know the customers that come into your store.
It's true, yeah. So then they get to chit chat with us a few minutes here and there,
Right.
and yeah. So
And I-
everybody.
Yeah, I would think that they would enjoy just seeing a friendly face and having someone that knows the things that they need and can help them out
Absolutely,
quickly,
yep.
rather than going to a big store where it may be really crowded.
Mhm. So yeah, that's another reason.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Patel.
No
It was
worries.
really nice visiting your
Awesome.
store today.
Cool. Thank you.